Welcome to Talking Buffalo, featuring conversations with guests from around the world of sports, media, pop culture, and all things Buffalo. With your host, Patrick Moran.
All right, what is going on? A brand new week, brand new episode of Talking Buffalo, your weekday daily driver for Buffalo sports talk and more. My name is Patrick Moran. Thank you, as always, for watching, for listening, for following, for subscribing. Appreciate y'all very much. Like I said, a big week here. The NFL draft is this week. Lots of kind of big stuff happened with Buffalo sports in the end of last week. As usual here on this Monday episode, now I am joined by a recurring guest at this point. Again, my friend, my frenemy, whatever you want to call him, my man Joe from Queens. What's up, dude? How you doing?
I'm acknowledging you with my pointer. That's
yes,
it.
you are.
I mean, yeah. So how's it going? I was ready to like boo or nay or yay or nay your guest for this week. Usually you do that.
You want to
like coming up this week? Yeah, let's come on. I'm gonna start booing and cheering.
All right, I'll tell you what.
Let's do it.
Tomorrow night, Tuesday, live from I almost said Imperial. Imperial's still my spot. I'm going to be there a lot, but I'm going to start doing some shows at other places. Live from Sunny Reds in Lackawanna.
Boo!
Greg Thompson from Cover One is in town. He's going to be joining me live from Sunny Reds. He's going to stream the show live at 8 p.m. If
Actually, I'll take half that. I'll take boo back, but there's worse than that, and that whole staff over there. He's tolerable. So yeah, right, Greg, shout out to him. He got wasted on Saturday night, by the way, but I'm not going to go into that. He got drunk. Yeah, on Twitter he did. He did. Greg? He was tweeting when he was wasted. And he was like, "I'm so good for you." Yeah, buddy, good for you. You got to do that.
Good for him.
Spend that Cover One per diem. Okay. Anyways,
a tolerable Greg Thompson will be. We'll be talking Bills. Obviously, NFL draft will be just a couple days away. At that point, again, Sunny Reds live Tuesday night in Lackawanna. If you happen to be there, stop through. If not, check it out live right here on the YouTube channel. Anyway, we're going to get into a handful of things today.
That's all you have this week? That's one guest? That's all you have? You're not going to go through the rest?
It's draft week. It's draft week, man. I don't know what I'm doing for a lot of the week. We'll see how it plays out. I will tell you this. We're going to be on 6 days this week because I will have a Saturday show. In fact, there might even be I won't be 7 days. It'll definitely be 6. So we're going to do a Friday night late podcast after the end of round 2. Obviously, we'll be live right after the end of round 1 as well.
Week, just book me for 5 minutes if they get a defensive line.
We'll talk about that at the end. What do you got there? What do you got?
I'll get some beer. By the way, I was impressed with your beer, even though I know those weren't your beers, probably half of them. But the Jack Abbey you got, it's Jack Abbey. That's a very good brewery. They have very good stuff. So this, for the kids at home, this is from Single Cut, which is, I don't think I've had this yet, but it's down the street from where I live in Astoria. It's in Queens. It's in Astoria. It's by LaGuardia. We'll just say probably like a 15-minute drive. One of my favorite beers they have. It is the Bright and Hollow. It's a Sky Double IPA, and that's all. There's no really other description on here. So I'm having that today.
Nice.
There you go. There's the snap.
There's the snap on the audio side. Anyway,
we went there because our Andrew, my baby's birthday is coming up. His first birthday. I don't know what you did for Shane, and your daughter's name escapes me, so my apologies.
Madison.
Yeah. Nice name. I like that. We're figuring out what we're gonna do for this kid's first birthday, and I'm like, we should just do it at a brewery because it's like it would be with adults there. It'll be fun, that you can run around. So we went to the Single Cup brewery to find out, but it's expensive around here, and I don't know. We're trying to figure it out.
Sure.
Because I don't know how like babies like. Do you celebrate? Like, do you remember what your birthday party situation was for your kids back in the day?
Dude, you're talking 25, 21, respectively. I don't even remember anymore. I know we did something. We had a party. I'm sure it was at our house or maybe grandparents or his aunt.
Yeah,
like
it's just one of those things where we wish. We do not have a giant apartment. It's like 1,100. It's your typical New York City 3-bedroom apartment.
Sure.
So. We can't have really people over, so we have to find a spot. It's kind of annoying. So we haven't. It's in July. My wife will cricket the crap out of it in terms of doing her own garments and personalized stuff for everyone. So it's going to be hell. I'm not gonna lie. It's gonna be me watching my wife go nuts while I'm like helpless, going, "What can I do?" But anyway, I digress.
Yeah, I can't remember that far. So we're gonna talk today for everybody watching, for listening again. Thank you for tuning in. Subscribe if you haven't, and on the YouTube side, by the way, leave comments if you can.
Oh, those comments are great. The most astute comments in the world, man. They're the best. Please, all those comments, I love them. Mwah. Chef's kiss, all of them.
We're gonna talk. We're gonna talk about a couple of reports today, late last week. Tell you what, and we'll talk about this specifically as well. It was a good week for the Athletic, Buffalo media outlet last week. A breaking story about the Buffalo Bills potentially selling a chunk of ownership. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. Matt Fairburn from the Athletic landed the first and so far the only interview with Don Granato since he's gotten fired.
He was also on your podcast, so that was a good week for the Athletic because they were on your podcast.
Yes,
which by the way, I'm sorry, I know I always kill you, or interrupt you. I just take the format, throw it out. I heard the podcast with them. It was very good. It was definitely solid. Yeah. It's funny though, so I don't listen to all your podcasts. I'm sorry, I don't. But the ones I listen to, you always talk about me. At the end of the podcast, you brought me up at the end. I get a cameo. Like it's like I'm like, here I am. I'm like, oh, what's this going to be about? And I was very happy because Baker threw shade at me. I'm not shocked. Baker sucks. Always remember, Chris, you suck. But Fairburn was like, when am I coming back into town? I was like, oh yeah, I'll be in town June. And I already have it in my head. Like we're going to Imperial. We're gonna have a summit. Like for me, it's gonna be like a homecoming party. We're gonna have everyone. I'm inviting everyone. Everyone's coming. I'm inviting my family. We're all gonna come. They're all gonna have cameos. I'm already destroying your format. You're probably gonna break up with me by then just because of that alone. But I just have it in my head. I got it. I got a vision for my homecoming party at Imperial Pizza the middle of June, which Pat will back out the last second because something will happen. Like his wife will say, it's our anniversary. We're going out.
You remain a polarizing figure to many of the Buffalo sports media for sure. So I got a couple thoughts, or you're going to have a couple thoughts too on Lindy Ruff. We'll hit on him. And then we'll talk a little bit about the Bills in the draft again. This is obviously the week of the NFL draft. So we're going to get to all that here. Before we get going, let me, by the way, I held it. So I have an inhaler for people on the video side.
I saw that last week, and I was going to say something.
What am I doing? What am I doing? I hold it in my hands. No, well, sometimes I do. I mean, sometimes I do, but usually I just like to have something in my hand. Usually it's like a pen or something. I like it. For whatever reason, I've been having a stupid inhaler in my hand. Anyway, before we get going, let me well, you like to call me Pandering Pat, so let me give me a couple of minutes here. I'm going to indulge.
I'll go to the bathroom. I'm
going to pander. No, I want to pander a little bit here.
Pandered to everyone already on Twitter today.
Yeah, exactly.
Got sandwich recommendations.
That's so. What Joe calls pandering, I call just being nice to people and complimentary. But it is what it is. Anyway, had a really good weekend. You talked about the show last Thursday night that I did at Imperial with Baker and Matt Fairburn. Great numbers. It was a great conversation. Had a lot of fun. Anyway, Saturday, Tyler Dunn from Go Long had a meetup, and he did a podcast. I think he did one with Jeremy, and he might have done one with Jay afterwards too. But anyway, he had a meetup, social kind of gathering, and I went up there to Fatty Bear in Hamburg, met up with it was Tyler Dunn and Jay Skursky, Jeremy White from GR, Matt Fairburn and Chris Baker both were there, and Jim Monos. And tell you what, I had a really good time. First of all, I mean, I don't need to talk about Tyler. You know how I feel about him. I've known Tyler for a long time. We're cool. Jay was there. Some pretty fun, and the fun part about this gathering was, like, usually when these guys, I do a show with them or whatever, it's just talk about podcasts or maybe sports, the Bills or Sabres. This was a fun vibe, and it was a relaxing day talking about food and drinks and just life, family, stuff like that. It was really cool. Jake showed up. His kid, it's 10 years old, Elliot. He is like such a ridiculously good golfer. He played in a tournament, Elliot did, with kids his age, and he shot a 71. I don't know what course it was, but the kid who finished in second shot a 101. The kid won by 30 strokes. Wow. That is just absurd. His kid is like literally like,
I hate golf, but that's impressive.
Golf prodigy. Sure is, man. It really is. Anyway, JJ's just a good dude, man. Matt and Chris, like I said, I hung out with them after the show on Thursday night, and then we hung out some on Saturday, and he kind of gave me a little bit of insight, Matt did, on how he got the story with Don Granato. That was really cool. Chris said he was going to drink water, and that lasted about 15 minutes because he had too much the night before.
Baker
anyway,
likes
it was really
I'll
cool. But
that.
the two people that I wanted to kind of hit on real quick here, because I've never really had a conversation with either of them. In fact, with Jim, I had never even met him. Jeremy White and Jim. So I've met Jeremy before, but I've never had any kind of conversation with him before. Dude is a super good dude and a Buffalo guy, man. I know he's not born and raised in Buffalo, but I'll tell you what, I don't know many people in this town that like represent Buffalo more than he does. And I'm not even just talking about the sports stuff. I'm talking like the food, the restaurant, the architecture, the city, stuff like that. He just talks it up and down how much he loves this. He was there with his wife. And by the way, you were talking about little kids running around at a brewery. His little kids were running around at a brewery. That was they were having themselves a good time. But yeah, man, Jeremy was super cool. And I had never met Jim before. And I'll tell you one thing, I did talk to him for about 10 minutes. My wife was with me as well. Then we'll get going here. But I want to say this about Jim, who again, who I had never met before. There's a lot of people out there who are critics of him and obviously critics of Tyler and their Go Long podcast. And
Sorry.
The biggest complaint that you hear all the time is that Jim hates the Bills because Sean McDermott fired him. I'm going to tell you one or two things. Either A, that is complete bullshit and he doesn't hate the Bills whatsoever. I'm telling you that because he's a fan of the team. He talked about them at length. We had a really good conversation about them. Or B, this guy is one hell of a bullshit artist who wants me to think that he doesn't hate the Bills, and he really does. Yeah, he was a really cool dude, but it was a good time, man. It was nice to hang out with some of those guys in a non-podcast type setting and not really talking about sports.
Right.
Fun time. So that's about it. Most I'll get out of you without an insult. So
I'm going to be nice today. I'm in a good mood. I'm not going to make fun of you. I'm not going to like.
Only shitty thing.
I'm sure your wife was like, "Why are you so happy right now?" And first time in years. But no. But I'm very. It sounds like
it was a good day. It was a good day.
I don't have too much beef with all those people. I would tell Jeremy the tank didn't work how he presented it, but I won't go into there. And Jay's okay. He's
my guy, man.
I know you love Jay. Yeah, it's funny. So I listened. I'm sure you didn't because you were probably wasted last night. And you're out of your tree. I listened to Tyler's podcast with Jay and Jeremy this morning.
Yeah,
he podcasted with them at that brewery or whatever.
Yep.
And you could not have two completely different point of views on Stephon Diggs than those two guys have. Completely different. Like if you want like the pro Stephon Diggs, like Jeremy White was your man for that. If you want all the stuff like Stephon Diggs, like they had addition by subtraction, all the stuff we've talked about, Jay was your guy. But they had completely two different viewpoints of Diggs, which I like that though.
I kind of like that. Though.
Sure. Unless you're wrong in one regards, which I'm not going to say who I feel is wrong, but
but even if you don't agree, my thing is it's nice to have two viewpoints, man. I would hate to have a conversation all the time. It's one of the things I like having a conversation with you about is you and I often don't agree with a lot of stuff. So it's not always I say something, you're like, oh yeah, I completely agree, or vice versa. Now, the manner in which we go about disagreeing can be up for debate, is loud, cutting each other off, shit like that. But I kind of like I like having people who have different viewpoints.
The biggest thing you and I disagree with is honestly the media stuff. That's the biggest thing. I think we have the same views on the Bills for the most part. I can't think of too many. If there's anything, I think sometimes there's two things that I would say I disagree with you on. One, I feel you do have a tendency, and everyone does this, to overhype newer guys. Now I don't, but I undervalue them because I need you to prove it to me way more, and that's fine. Like I don't think it's wrong. I don't think it's go either way. Like I need you to prove it. I need you to like Shakir. We'll just bring him up. Like I think he's a solid. He might be good. I don't know. I need like more than just a 6-7 week span where we're saying he was better than Diggs, and then I'm like we're good there. Like and I'm not saying you said that, but I'm just like you get more excited about like I don't want to say you know your shit, you don't, but no, you do know it a little bit, but more or less, like the depth chart pretty well. Where I don't know who the 6th round the backup to the cup is. I just don't care, and that's me being lazy and not caring. I forgot what the second one was that annoys me, but that's kind of it. I mean, I think you and I just disagree with content and media people. Not all the time, but sometimes. But
sure, fair enough. Fair enough. All right. Well, yeah. So anyway, a fun Saturday, a good weekend. The one thing about Buffalo right now that just sucks, bro. It's April 21st.
Weather's horrible, huh?
Can't even hit 50 degrees. Luke Combs was in concert back to back. By the way, I'm not a Luke Combs. I'm not a big fan.
I have no idea who that is. I had to ask my wife because
he's probably the second biggest country artist right now in the world. If every
country bumpkin was there last night at freaking the stadium.
Well, and they were
like, I don't know who this is, but
they were very cold. That's my point. It was like going to a Bills game in December or January almost. I mean, people were having to bundle up between the tailgate and then sitting at the concert. So I mean, that kind of sucks. But yeah, dude sold out the stadium, man, back-to-back nights. So you got to give it up to him.
Buffalo loves. There's two. You tell me if I'm wrong here. Like, there's two. I feel Buffalo loves classic rock and they love country. Like, if you look at the stations, like I know radio's kind of dead, like terrestrial radio, but like they've always had like multiple rock stations. They've always had multiple countries. The one WYRK, I think it's called. I don't know, the Redneck Network, but they've always been like number 1 in ratings for like they're up there. So like country and rock.
Yeah, most country artists come here a lot. Pop artists, hip hop artists, not all of them, kind of like 50-50, but country, the bigger country artists come here, they sell where I classic rock, sure.
I like Shania Twain. That's about all I know. She was hot back. I mean, she might still be hot.
Once we hit Shania Twain, we got to move on. What, you don't like Shania
Twain? You got beef with her?
She's fine. She's not talking about podcast.
Oh, okay. Sorry. My bad. Okay. I won't bring up Shania Twain anymore. Sorry.
She's
man,
fine.
I feel like a woman. All right, fine.
She was relevant like a decade ago. Yeah, sure. She's a nostalgic act at this point. She'd be like Hall & Oates, almost like reuniting.
Oh, yeah, because you never bring up old school stuff ever, dude.
I love old school music. I love nothing except old school music at this point of my life. All right, anyway, let's get into a couple of topics today. Let's start with last Friday. Tim Graham of The Athletic reported on his sort of a stunner anyway. Terry Pegula is willing to put up around 25% of the Bills for sale. Tim kind of, I listened to his podcast with Jonah on Friday. I also listened to Vic Carucci on Channel 2 to get some kind of perspective on this stuff. And Tim points out that it starts at around 25%. It could be a little bit more. It could be a little less. But the big thing is that it would not be a majority share. Terry Pegula will continue to have primary operating interest in the team. Also emphasize that the Sabres, the Bandits, and the Amerks are not for sale whatsoever. The Rochester Nighthawks, who Terry Pegula owns, they are for sale fully. Who knows what happens with that? Lots of reasons, of course, but like I said, the big thing in terms of controlling interest is that Pegula would still control the majority interest of the team. I'm sure a new ownership or group will have some conditions before they go on and they would be interested in purchasing it. And last thing I'll say too, before I turn it over to you, the reason why. I mean, the speculation is running rampant. Tim talked about it. Vic talked about it. Pretty widely known and accepted at this point that the biggest reason why, because a lot of people are like, whoa, what's going on here, is because of overrun costs. With this new stadium, it is going to be way more money than originally expected. Speculation is that the overrun on the new stadium could be as much as $500 million, so like $500 million, which, if you buy 25% of the team, I guess basically, a new group coming in would cover that. Anyway, what were your thoughts when you heard this? I'm sure you have many thoughts about the sale, your thoughts about Terry Pegula, etc.
I thought it was interesting that, so like the day before, some random dude had like a report that the Bills, like the Terry was selling like everything aside from the Bills.
Yep.
And everyone shitted all over it. And it was wrong, the report, for the most part. And then like Tim that night tweeted something out that said, it's wrong, blah, blah, blah. And then the next day, the story comes out like, oh, they're selling 25% of the team, which Tim kind of made a little bit like he tweeted about, like he wasn't very thrilled how his original source. Yeah. I don't know if they were two different sources or was the same source. Who knows? He did not get into those nuances of it. It changed, like, which is kind of crazy to me. And this is coming from an ownership group that has said before, we don't want partners. This is a family-run business. And they're giving up maybe 25%. It's weird. I don't know. It's a lot of things come in my head. Like part of it is like, how much money does Terry Pegula have? Like how much liquid does he have anymore? Because I have always felt, look, since 2020, he has reined it in terms of like the giant portfolio of like, the restaurants downtown, he got rid of those basically, like he's leasing them out. He got rid of the healthy scratch. He's got rid of a lot of different thugs. Like they have been like all that their portfolio has shrunk for the most part. And the only thing that I feel they put really a lot of money into have been the Bills. Like in terms of like they haven't really with the Sabres, their payroll's not great. They had a skimpy staff like behind like the PR people, like all that. We know the arena is a disaster. They have like every game, someone's tweeting out missing seat cushions and shit like that. And you just always like saw like the last 3-4 years, it's just been, it just doesn't look like they're keeping up things. Like he keeps up the team, but he doesn't keep up like the other things that go around the team, like for fans' sake. And then now he's selling part of this to pay off the overruns, which isn't great because if you're in these franchises, Pat, are going to keep going up and up and up and up until we die. They're going to be there. The Bills, he bought the Bills for what? $1.4 billion. And now
it up right on the screen, just as you just speak it on the audio side, people. He bought the Bills for $1.48 billion back in 2014.
10 years ago, and it's triple the value now. And even the Sabres, he bought, I think, for 150, and they're overall, I think they're worth $1 billion now. Which is crazy because it's the NHL. It's not like they're not a juggernaut like the NFL is.
Right.
But like for him to do that, it's just like, it's just weird. And then everything that's gone around it, like in terms of the PSLs, like we've talked about that. And then this week it came out that the Bills aren't paying taxes on the PSLs at all. So that money is going right to them, all of it, which I'm like, I don't even know. I forgot. I don't even know. I like did not go too deep into the article about like, why is that the case? But there's some sort of deal they were able to figure out. Like it's just the whole deal still annoys. The stadium deal is just kind of still, it's weird. Like on one hand, it annoys me because it's like, I feel billionaires should pay for their own stadiums. I don't believe in the county, the state really putting that much into it. It's a bad investment. I get that's kind of the stage that the NFL has been able to do it as a Ponzi scheme. There was an article, there's like a stadium website one. I forgot what it's called, but it's just, they always talk about stadiums, like new stadiums. And they basically were like, this stadium deal that the Bills have gotten, like it's such a ripoff to the state, in terms of the people, the taxpayers. And like even the reporting of it has not been great because there's certain elements. With the Buffalo News 2 weeks ago ran an article and it was very one-sided. Where Ryan, I forgot the guy's name, you'll remember it.
Ryan O'Halloran.
Yeah, he had a piece that it felt like it was completely just one-sided, the Bills' perspective. Like he literally talked to someone from the Steinbrenner Jerry Jones group, and they were like, "This is a great deal, shut up." And he kind of echoed that, and I was kind of like, "Okay, dude, like, okay." It just feels like it's a bad ripoff a little bit. Now, on the other hand, for me, he has to put in his money so he could do whatever he wants. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, I get like you need to come up with the money, but it's like whatever happened to like drill an oil well. And again, like you're selling this piece of off like 3-4 years ago, you said you weren't going to. A couple of years, like 2 days ago, 3 days ago, or whatever, they were not selling anything except the Nighthawks are up possibly, and then all of a sudden it changes overnight. So it's not like a giant concern. Like I could get into weeds about like what's going to happen after Terry dies, because Kim is not, and she's not around. Like are the kids taking over? Like what's going on with that? But it just, I don't know. There's something fishy about that whole portfolio for me. A little bit. It's just a little fishy. Like things can change, like at a moment's notice. So yeah, they can tell everyone we're in it for a long haul. Go after yourself. But like you don't tell. You probably want people to think you don't want to sell it, so you'll get a bigger deal possibly.
Sure. Look, it's the rich get richer. That's the way the world works. I hate it. It sucks that taxpayers get screwed, and Terry Pegula's trying to get a new stadium built to make more money, and he's trying to pay as little as he possibly can. So in terms of right now, this doesn't seem anything like really out of the water. I don't know all the stats, but I do know that a lot of teams now have limited partners in part for this.
Sure.
They're only ranked 29th out of 32nd in terms of value in the NFL, which is crazy because Sport Rico has them at 4.13 billion, which is only the 41st among U.S. sports and 29th out of 32 teams in the NFL. From a fan standpoint, I don't concern myself with this at all right now. Again, for me right now, this is just Terry don't want to pay $500 million and he's going to get someone else to cover as much of that bill or all that bill as it takes. Long term, there's things to worry about. A succession plan that he might have. I mean, dude's not young. He's no spring chicken. He's 73 years old. So,
and that's the thing.
You got to think about stuff like that. Right now, though, it doesn't concern me at all right now. But
I find it interesting. That's all. I find it interesting, like a decent conversation. Not like I'm not concerned like, oh my God, they're gonna move or who's gonna buy the team. Let me
ask you this, Joe. Let me ask you a question. So being armed with the hindsight that we know now, okay? And I don't know how you felt about it before, but let's just say we go back 2 years or whatever, and they were talking about potentially building a new stadium. Also, renovating the stadium was at least on the table. Relocation, not out of Buffalo, but like going downtown. All this stuff was on the table a couple years ago. And obviously they're buying and building a new stadium. Knowing now that, hey, the PSLs were going to happen because you're building a new stadium. Knowing that, again, all the money that the state and everyone else is paying, the fact that he's going to sell potentially 25% of this team to pay for it, a $500 million overrun that he is responsible for and nobody else except Terry. But knowing all that now, if you could go back a couple of years, would you still have been in favor of a new stadium, or would you have said renovate the old one? Although I don't know in today's world in 2024 that even that stadium getting renovated would have been up to standards to what today's NFL is. But going back now, would you still want a new stadium knowing all the stuff, all the headaches that are happening now? But last point here, a couple of years from now, when that stadium opens, it should be dope. I guess it should be a great experience going to that football game. Would you do it right now again?
Let me preface this by saying this. I had a lot of opinions about the stadium, but at the end of the day, I'm only there maybe once every 2 years. So part of me is like, do I really have a hot take? Like, I always want it. Look, I was of the mindset of either you build it downtown or you build it like with a dome, or something like that. None of that is happening. But at the same time, I'm glad it didn't happen because who the hell knows how the state would have had to put more money into it. Because obviously it seems like Terry is a little bit of a, like, he doesn't have the same money he had 10 years ago where he was just like, I'll fucking buy you out. I'll buy the Amerks. I don't care. I'll buy the Buttes. I'll die. He was like a drunk sailor, like, coming down from Iraq on Fleet Week in New York City. Like, he didn't give a shit, and now he totally does. I mean, I know you have to get a stadium. Like, I feel like they got a new stadium because the league wanted them to get a new stadium. And Terry was like, all right, I have no choice. I have to get one. Because think about this. Why are they building a new stadium, but they're not giving two flying shits about KeyBank? Like, why? The reason why is the NHL
got a new scoreboard. Big.
Yeah, big. And it took them like 10 years to do that. The reason why is because the league put pressure on the Bills. You need to get a new stadium. where the NHL doesn't give a fuck. They were playing. The Coyotes were playing in a freaking $3,000 barn or 3,000 seater barn or whatever. Like there's not as much pressure as it is on the NHL as it is in the NFL. That's why I think they got it. I think they got it for pressure. I don't think Terry gives a shit. Like, I think Terry just wants to see football and, like, he wants to see the elements. And he wants to sit in his freaking booth and, like, laugh or whatever he does. Yeah. You know, so would I do it again? I mean, this was the best. If you had to get a new stadium, this was the cheapest way to do it.
That's the crazy part.
If anything that annoys me, I thought the state got ripped off. And, like, you see other teams. I understand what they were up against. Like, hey, they can move the team or whatever. I call bullshit. I don't think the Pegulas would have the gall to do that. But what happened to me, what I thought was an issue was there seemed to be no negotiation of like no fighting, anything. I will say this, like, you know, Andrew Cuomo, whatever the fuck his name is, I get him and his brother mixed up, but he was a dick. We all agree that. You know, both sides, Democrats, Republicans, don't like him, but he probably would have been better at negotiating the deal for the stadium because I think he would have been a hard ass and be like, I'm going to be a dick about this. Whereas once he left, you know, Hochul came in and Poloncarz came in, and Hochul's a Buffalo girl. Like, her husband was dealing at the time was with whatever the fuck the food place is. I forgot the name of it. The place that's in Buffalo. They supply food to all the stadiums. My apologies, I forgot. But like, there was talk about like a conflict of interest there, and of course they would want a new stadium because they would have to hire Delaware North. That's what it was, Delaware North. Like, I think it was done so fast. Where I think both parties, I mean, I guess you could say it's a fair deal, but I thought they could have held out a little bit more. Kansas City, I don't know if you saw this, they had a vote to the public about, hey, do you want to get taxed for a new stadium for the Royals and Chiefs? The Kansas City was like, fuck you. No, we don't. The citizens said no. Are the Chiefs going to move? I doubt it. I don't think that's going to happen. And there was, I forgot, there was another city that had the same ordeal as well. I think Cleveland did maybe. And so it's just, and then you see other teams that you see other teams, owners who are putting in their own money for the stadium more so than the taxpayers. It's rare when you have taxpayer money going in and then you have PSL money going in. It's usually one or the other that you're trying to like get the owner is, and it's both. But it just, at the end of the day, I think the biggest wonder is how much money, liquid money, does Terry still have?
Sure, you know, it's fair to want to know that. I don't know that we're going to.
No, we probably won't. No one's gonna.
I don't think
he's gonna give us his bank account number.
I would say at this point, at least anyway, this is just nothing more than a matter of him wanting someone else to come in and pay this overall.
No, that's exactly what it is.
I think that's evidenced by the fact that the Sabres are not for sale whatsoever. If he was selling a piece of the Sabres, that would be different. We'll see what happens. But for now, at least anyway, I think that it's nothing more than your boy just. You know, again, the rich want to stay rich, and he doesn't want to pay for that. Let's take a quick break. Come back on the other side. I want to talk Sabres, Don Granato, Lindy Ruff, and then we'll get back to a little bit of Bills draft as well. So be right back. All right, I am back with Joe from Queens. We are discussing a pretty significant week of stuff going on here in the Buffalo sports world over the past handful of days. So Don Granato got fired last week. I mean, don't need to talk about him getting fired too much here. It's kind of almost feels like almost old news at this point. But I will say, I mean, you and I like to talk about media, the good, the bad, the whatever. Let's give a little bit of props here to a couple of the guys here over at the Athletic.
Nice picture. Look at you. You're stalking people on
Facebook. Tim Graham broke the story about the Bills. Matthew Fairburn from the Athletic, the same day, actually. This was all on Friday. Scored, again, an exclusive to this point is the only interview with Don Granato since he's been fired. And I'll tell you this, through sources, I guess we'll call it, a lot of jealous people on the hockey side right now, not too pleased at Matthew Fairburn.
I mean, it's not very hard to figure out who's jealous. There's not that many hockey people out there.
It is what it is. But what I'm saying is Matthew Fairburn, props to him, props to Tim. I mean, Tim does this all the time, so that's not a surprise. But props to Matthew for being afforded the opportunity to sit down with Don Granato and talk to him. And it's not even a slight towards anybody else in the media. It's just straight up. Matthew got the scoop. Good for him. A really good week for The Athletic, a big week for the Athletic, journalistically anyway. But yeah, so Don Granato gets fired. Happens just one day after the season ends. Little bit surprised. I don't know if you were surprised. I don't know if the general public was surprised. I was surprised as shit. I completely expected Pegula to hold on to him. Just gave him an extension. I'm like, he's not going to pay this guy up to like $4 million to not coach the hockey team. He's probably going to get another year. They're going to use the injuries as an excuse. Yada, yada, yada. They didn't. He's out. Quick thoughts on that, and then we'll talk about a couple candidates, of course, including Lindy Ruff, who I think is realistically one of the candidates. But anyway, your quick thoughts on Granato getting fired.
Can I go back before I get there? Can I go back to the media part of it? It's crazy to me that there just is not, there's not much creative camaraderie at all within the markets, within the people in Buffalo.
What do you mean?
What do you mean? Okay, so like I give shit to Cover One all the time. I just like to bust their chops. But you know, they have a lot of they do things with other content people. Yeah. You know, they do stuff with you. They do stuff with when Buffalo Rumblings had their little podcast network. They did stuff with them.
Joe Marino, sure.
Yeah, do a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
The outlets in Buffalo, the three major ones. Let's just go right there. The Athletic, Buffalo News, WGR. I don't think you can argue with me for sports that like the TV stations have their own like one-offs, but those three outlets don't do anything together at all. Nothing. There is no like you're going to be on WGR. Nope. We're going to be together on a podcast. Sure. No, I mean I swear to God, you might be the only person maybe, or no, Tyler kind of got both. Like he got a WGR one, and you know, but they were separate. Like they weren't even together. But like there is no like. I remember growing up. Empire Sports used to have the show Pros and Cons. Yeah. And it used to be Ed Kilgore, who was at WGRZ, Art Wander, WGR, Larry Felser, Buffalo News. They did a show together. Good luck doing anything remotely like that because of red tape, because of whatever. I don't care what excuses you want to like, depending on who you listen to for why this reporter can't go on that network. None of that. There used to be. It happens,
Joe. I mean, it is true. I'll say this in defense real quick on the hockey side, at least anyway, for Lance and for Mike, WGR won't have them on. And Channel 2 doesn't have them on anymore either. So their platform has been reduced. They don't work. It's the competition is real. At least the Athletic and the Buffalo News for sure. They don't work well together. They don't collaborate together. They might be friends, some of them, off the job. I know, in fact, I know some of them are like Matt Fairburn and Jay are really cool with each other. We were hanging out Saturday, but yeah, you're right. Competition wise, it's cutthroat with those guys. Good point.
But it's stupid because here's why your outlets, those three I just mentioned, are not in great shape. Odyssey just is declaring bankruptcy, or I think they already did. That's WGR's parent company. They declared bankruptcy. The Buffalo News is in trouble every freaking other day. It feels like everyone hates this owner or whatever the hell. I forgot. Lee Enterprises, whatever they're called. It's terrible there. The Athletic has cut out staff. It is not when they came into Buffalo like 5-6 years ago. They had a giant balloon staff. It was just like balls to the walls. They cut it down to like 3 people now. And like I think we're gonna throw wrestling in here. I think back to the 90s when like WWE was getting their asses handed to them because they were like losing money. And you know what they did? Like, they did stuff with ECW, Extreme Championship Wrestling. They were doing all this stuff with other promotions to try to help each other out. Like you needed to help each other out because you were losing. And like, I don't know. I think to myself, like, why don't I'm not saying you have to be like a ton of collaborations, but like a couple, like even going on the radio for them. And I know like you just said, the GR won't have the Buffalo News guys on. I've heard the Buffalo News guys won't go on GR because they have beef with WBEN because WBEN, the other station at WGR, they steal their newspaper articles and they redo their stories. I heard that a couple of years ago, and that's why that could have been them staying face trying to tell me like, we're not going to go there because of this. You know, and I remember because Sully used to be on WGR all the time when he was with the Buffalo News, and then he stopped because he did that TV show on fucking WBBZ. You know, a public access channel, basically. And he couldn't go on there because he had to go exclusively there. All I'm saying is, like, I feel like when you are losing money and I do feel like these outlets have lost money and they're squeezing everything tight, you probably want to maybe be more open to collaborations with other outlets to do something to, because look, if there's a podcast, like I give you credit, like you have people from when you do the duo stuff, like, you know, you had Tim Graham and Tyler Dunn on the one time. Two don't work together, completely differences.
Right.
Like I would listen to that, and I did listen to that. If you had Lance and Fairburn, good luck having that. But like if you had that, you know, I would be like, oh wow, two different outlets that I know of. You know what I mean? Like, and like, there's none of that at all. And it boggles my mind. Like, I feel like there needs to be a peacemaker and like a negotiator that goes in and goes, guys, you realize our medium is dying right now. It's fucked. It is. Like, I hate to say that. Like, every medium is dying in the entertainment industry, Mike included in reality television. I can get into that all day long. But like, you should at least try to do some sort of, you know, cooperate. Like, just do something together. Like, you know,
it comes from the top. I couldn't agree with you more, man. This take, I think you are spot on. Like, for an example, for an example, like Sal Capaccio, for an example, Sal does shows with everybody. He does my show. He does Cover One stuff. He does all kinds of shows. Jeremy White, if you ask him, he's done my show. He will go on other shows, but people being able to come on WGR, that's beef, and you're right, but that's beef between somebody, I don't know who, but that's beef, somebody at the top of WGR, somebody at the top of the Buffalo News. I'm not sure how it is with the Athletic. I don't know in terms of those guys.
Well, doesn't do any. I mean, they don't do. I don't really. Like
I don't ever hear Tim on WGR. I don't ever hear or Fairburn, and I never hear those guys either. So yeah, I don't know why. It does suck. You would think that they'd want to collaborate and work together and kind of elevate the whole, you know, all of them.
Interpromotional pieces or podcasts or spots.
Yeah, I don't think it's, you know, and I don't think it's mostly. There's a couple individuals. There's rivalries. Rivalries are real, whether it's outlet versus outlet or whether
media crime happens. It's real.
It does happen, whether it's public or whether it's behind the scenes. It might be behind the scenes. It might be out for people to see on Twitter. But there's definitely some rivalries for sure. It sucks. But anyway, hey, man, call it. You know, if we're, you know, we talk about a football team, we talk about a hockey team.
It's just remarkable to me that you like not to like you can get a Buffalo News person to come on your show, but WGR can't get a Buffalo News person to come on their show. I had the Athletic Thursday, and the Thursday before that, I had somebody from the Buffalo News on, and don't get your ego too far up, okay, buddy?
No, because I'm joking. I just feel like you elevate people and outlets. It benefits me, it benefits them, benefits everybody. But anyway, when it comes to media stuff, I'll say this too. You know, we talk about the Bills, we talk about the Sabres, and we kind of evaluate them and analyze them. So, you know, this is a media sport. The Athletic kicked some ass this week is what I'm getting at here, man. Breaking a story nationally like Tim did with the Bills, and then getting the exclusive with Granado is some really good shit from the Athletic. Let's skip the Granado part about him getting fired. Quite frankly, I really don't care what you think about Don Granato getting fired. Well, no, I got 25 seconds. I'll get it done. $10 is not going to be 25 seconds. Count it. I was surprised he got fired. I thought Terry wasn't going to pay for the extension. I thought he was going to be cheap. Good for Terry, I guess. I'm glad they're going to try to get a veteran. I think they need one, even though the history of the Sabres, when it comes to hiring a recycled coach, it hasn't been great at all, which is kind of weird. Like nothing's been great with this. No, but even the history, like you go to the 2000s and the 90s, sure, even the 80s. It's not like Scotty Bowman was there, and he was a recycled coach who won Stanley Cups, and he wasn't as successful elsewhere. But yes, get a veteran. Cool. That's. I want to get your thoughts on Lindy Ruff here in just a second. I'll say this. Sure. So I think he's a legitimate possibility. Mike Sullivan from the Pittsburgh Penguins, Baker and Fairburn were talking about him on Thursday's show, saying if he became available, like he would be the guy. They love those Pittsburgh connections, man. It doesn't look like he's getting fired. It looks like he's staying. Rob Rindamore is a very popular candidate, very close friends with Kevin Adams, but he's still got a year left in Carolina. They're going to have a deep playoff run. They would have to wait weeks potentially to even try to do something with that. So it's probably not going to happen. Mm-hmm. Bruce Bordeaux's a name getting thrown out there. I'm good without not having him. He's 69 years old. I'll tell you this, before I ask you about Lindy specifically, Craig Berube is a guy who I think if you were to put a gun to my head right now and say, make your pick, I would say it would be Craig Berube. He's coached over 500 games, won a cup with St. Louis, was fired by them this season. They kind of imploded, but he's got that experience. He's got some toughness to him, that discipline. I think he would be the coach. But Lindy Ruff is a legitimate candidate. When we were talking about topics before earlier in the week about this show, you said you wanted to talk about Lindy Ruff. So what do you got to say about Lindy Ruff?
Look, I'm not a hockey, I don't have the greatest hockey acumen currently, but I did care about the Sabres like 4 or 5 years ago. And I watched a lot of Lindy Ruff. So I know the last time he coached here was 12 years ago, basically. It's been a minute. And I just kind of wanted to give my thoughts on him, like when he was here. I don't know how much he's evolved over the years, in terms of he was with Dallas, then he was assistant coach. I know he went to the Rangers and he went to the Devils. Mixed results in both places.
Sure.
When he was here, I'll just say this, like if you want someone who's going to be a dick and piss off and like really make these players' lives miserable, which I know Tone Pucks wants that. That guy's great for that because he used to do that all the time here. He used to, when it came to like systems and like what he wanted, like he always wanted you to be a good two-way player. He always wanted the blue line, the defenseman to pinch in all the time and then don't get caught like on an odd man rush if you pinch in too deep. But the annoying thing was he would always mix lines up all the time. And if you made a mistake, if you were a skilled guy, you were on the fourth line. Done. Like he did not give a shit. He would drive me crazy when it came to developing young guys. Like Grigorenko, when that was like his last center he would play him with like gritty guys. It was like he's not going to do well on this line with like I forgot who they had then, like Adam Mayer or whatever. Like someone like was like he needs to be playing with skill guys, like Luke Adam, like a couple other guys. Like he would always do. He was really like tough on the younger guys. He was tough on Thomas Vanek. Vanek looked like he always wanted to commit suicide when he was like on the bench and everything because he would just jettison him out. And I don't know how he's gonna do like with this if he's evolved, if he's different now with what he's doing like with them because then. I would just say, like I said, he's the most successful coach in Sabres history. He was a guy that won different ways. Like in the 90s, early 2000s, it was all about defense. It was Hasek defense. They didn't really have a scoring touch. A lot of that you could blame it on Darcy at that time or management. They didn't have a lot of scores. When they came out of the lockout, everything was great. They were scoring bunches. He loves to play with his like 3 or 4 lines. Hot take alarm. Yeah, he would always like to have 4 lines play almost the exact same timing. Like you would look at the box score and Thomas Vanek would have the same ice time as like the 3rd or 4th forward who sucked. And you're like, why is this happening, dude? And that shit would just piss me off to no ends. And the funny thing I remember, there's the consensus, the rumor on the campfire is like Terry didn't want to fire him. Neither did Darcy Regier. It was Terry's Pittsburgh connections are who want like Ted Black, Benson, all these guys from Penn State wanted him gone. And I had no problem with that because he had overstayed his welcome. They hadn't won a playoff series in, at that time, 5 years, which I know like now we would take that in a heartbeat, like a damn playoff series. But I remember all up into his era, there were fans, people in the media, especially I remember Paul Hamilton and Bucky Gleason, that they acted like if he got fired, he'd go somewhere and he'd win. He'd win cups. Like they put the fear of God into you. Like if he left, kind of like what happens now with McDermott. If McDermott left, I think we would be stuck with garbage. And they were kind of half right. Like, yes, it got worse after he left, but it never got great for him. Like he never, like, I think he went to the second round once. Like it wasn't great. It was not in those 2000s. Like that was always the fear. Like there was a fear that if you got rid of Lindy, he was going to go somewhere and be a star. Like he was going to win like multiple cups and it was going to be the greatest thing ever. Like, or for him. And you can't do that. You can't do that. And there was a fear of that as I thought for a fan and even for the organization. But if he comes back, as I said, it will be interesting to see how he does, because then it would drive people crazy how he mixed lines. It would drive people crazy how much he played like the gritty 3rd, 4th liner over like the top 6 forwards, because that's what he did then. Again, he may have evolved. Maybe
that was a long time ago.
It was a long time. I'm just giving you a history lesson around the Joe's knowledge tree of what Lindy Ruff was like, you know, from like those years. And like he was always a quote machine. I'm sure the media would love him to come back because he always gave gold to them. Like he wasn't boring at all. If they lost the game and he would show you he was pissed off.
Sure.
Like, you know, and he was good copy as the reporters say.
I would look, I think he's a real possibility. I think he would bring ticket sales for starters. I mean, people would be interested in him. That's something, you know, and I kind of lean on. I don't try to pretend I'm a hockey expert. I'm not a football expert either, but I like to think I am, and I kind of like rely on my own takes. With football, hockey, I kind of rely on people who I trust and respect more. And like listening to Chris and the Matt, they both think that it's a real possibility that he would move tickets and that it could go really well, but it would be all about the staff that he brought in with him. And it could also go really bad. I don't really have much more on him. I would say probably.
I mean, the expectations are so, I'm sorry to interrupt. The expectations are so low right now. It's just so, it might be worse than it even was during the Bills drought, where it's just like, get them in the playoffs. And Lindy has done that with 2 different franchises since he left. It wasn't a lot.
Right.
And I think that's just what you want at this point.
Well, they need somebody in that locker room that's going to command some respect and make these players start being more accountable to themselves. I don't really want to talk anymore about, you know, the players after the season here, but during locker clean out those couple days, they were more or less throwing their coach under the bus, saying, you know, we need more accountability than that. Fucking be accountable yourself, man. You know, play better and hold yourself to a higher standard. It kind of was throwing Donnie under the bus a lot on his way out. And I'm speaking from a point of view where I'm glad he got fired, but I just thought it was bullshit that the players weren't taking more.
It just shows you how like the guy gets fired. Prior to that, they loved him to the point to where they did a protest where they weren't going to salute the fans because they said fire Donnie, the 20 people or whatever at the arena,
players
and etc. And then the guy gets fired, and they're like, "Oh, it's done. We got to throw him under the bus."
We could sit here and speak politically correct about the players are young and this and that, or you could just tell the truth. And the truth is that was a locker room that acted like a bunch of bitches for a lot of the year, just looking for excuses instead of looking at themselves in the mirror. They might have said they were looking at themselves in the mirror publicly, but they weren't, because it was obvious by the way they played and the way they just, there was just no leadership. Anyway, I want to get to 2 more things here before we bounce quickly. So Brandon Beane, Josh Allen, Sean McDermott all spoke late last week as well. Nothing special, of course. I mean, what are you going to get?
Oh, it was such good stuff. What are you talking about?
You're not going to get a lot, especially at this time of year. I mean, that's just not how they are. But I mean, there were some tidbits I think worth mentioning. The biggest one for me was since Sean McDermott made Bobby Babbitt defensive coordinator, we've been wondering who's going to call plays for the defense. Found out that we're going to continue wondering that. He's going to make his decision, he said, at training camp.
Do you think he made this? He knows already, do you think? And he's just bullshitting?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, we know now that we won't know until training camp. So we heard about that. A lot of people have been wondering how Matt Milano's doing. Still kind of rehabbing at the facility, which, by the way, I remember a lot of talk saying, well, if the Bills could have beat the Chiefs, maybe got to the Super Bowl, would you have gotten Matt Milano back? Well, the answer is no, because dude probably wouldn't be able to play today.
Can I see real quick? I'm sorry to interrupt because
interrupting machine today.
Look,
go ahead,
sir. 2 things. 1, I have to cut out the swearing because my wife is back home with the baby, so I have to cut that out, unfortunately.
Right.
2, didn't that come from the team about the Matt Milano? Like he could be available later. Like they asked him. That's why they didn't put him on IR.
No,
because I swear to God, I could have sworn that was from them. Okay, no, you know what? Fine.
Not Milano. Maybe
I could have.
I want to say Terrell Bernard.
Pat, they never put him on IR though. But
yes,
I'm sorry.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. He's been on IR.
Okay, so where was the Super Bowl talk about him coming back for like the Super Bowl?
Media maybe saying if they could have won another game or 2, but the team never. To Sean McDermott's credit, he never said that Milano was close. He did say Bernard was close. Terrell Bernard said if they had beaten the Chiefs, he could have played the following week. I think Gabe Davis might have said the same.
I should have looked this up to find out, but okay.
As well. So anyway, I thought that was worth noting, at least. There's something notable. Von Miller, Brandon Bean, or maybe it was McDermott, I can't remember, said that he was fully healthy. And then it was just the basic coach speak, QB speak, saying all the right things about Stefon Diggs. This was the first time we've heard from them since Stefon left. Josh Allen said the right things. I'll tell you, I was pretty impressed with the way Josh spoke. I mean, this is legit his team now. He's not just the captain and a leader, but he's like an elder statesman on this team as well. Let's spend the last few minutes here because there's not really any meat on that bone. We already talked about it. There's nothing to talk about. It's just mentioning things that were talked about. I don't think there's really any.
I'm surprised no one asked Josh Allen about Stefon Diggs' tweet the day before he got traded. Yeah. I'm just a little bit because he kind of threw a little bit good luck. You didn't have to mention it as a gotcha question, but how do you feel your former wide receiver says let's see how you do without a number one wide receiver?
Sure.
I'm surprised no one asked that, but I digress. But
let's talk the last couple minutes before we get out of here because we both got to get going soon. Let's talk about the draft. It's just a couple days away now. He made a pretty funny statement to me about if they take defensive line. So I can't remember what you said, but it was actually pretty funny. I feel like
I was gonna rush the stage and stop it from happening with Goodell hugging the guy.
Well, let me give you some good news and bad news. Can I give you some good news and some bad news?
No.
I don't think you have a lot to worry about with defensive line if the Bills stay at pick 28. And let me explain real quick what I mean. There's 2 defensive tackles that are first-round guys. They ain't going to be there. I'd be stunned if Johnny Newton's going to be there. And I won't even mention Murphy because there's no way he's not a top 15 pick. So defensive tackle, I think you're free and clear. If the Bills stay at 28, this is all preface on the being that. Defensive edge, there's 3 guys. Turner, Latu, Jared Verse. They ain't going to be there at pick 28 either. So you're free and clear of everyone except one person that I would be concerned about if they stayed at 28. Chop Robinson, who you would hate as a prospect because he's got the traits, but not the production in college. He's got all these skills, but he only had 4 sacks last year with Penn State. I think that's the one guy you got to be worried about 28. That's the good news. The bad news is this, Joe. I am starting to feel reasonably almost confident that the Bills, if they stay at 28, they might take a guard with the first pick and come back receiver in the second, or even worse for you, they might move up and go get one of those edge guys in the late teens. So they might not only draft a defensive lineman or an edge, which is your nightmare scenario, but they might move up to do that because they might have to move up if they want to do that. What would your reaction be if they actually moved up to go get a defensive lineman? Oof.
I would rent a gun and take out everyone. No, I would be furious. It's not even about the player anymore. It's about just the philosophy of why are you chasing after defense? Why? Enough. Stop chasing after defense for the love of God. It's not like a snap year where it's a snap judgment of it's easy for me to go, oh, hey, let me erase the last 7 years of the Bean McDermott enterprise and go, well, hey, they could use another edge rusher. Look at the roster. Sure, they could use another defensive tackle. Sure. But when you have the memory of you've been putting so much value salary picks into the defense and it has failed in the playoffs, and we're in this NFL that you need good offenses. The rules are against defenses. They just always will be. It will get worse and worse and worse as the years go on. And if I see them do this again, when it's it is not a great wide receiving core right now. It's not at all. And you're going to ignore it. And then could I talk myself into sure. Will I Google the next day, history of second round rookie wide receivers in the last 5-10 years? Yeah, I'm sure I'll find some really good guys who were drafted in the second round. And you will. You're right. You will. And they'll do that. But at the same time, I'm just going to be great. I don't awesome. So we got a second round wide receiver when all I was hoping for the last 3 seasons for them to just get some weapons around Josh Allen. And then, and if they don't do that, I'm just going to be you're not going to win a Super Bowl with this philosophy. I'm sorry. You're not going to win. And that's what it's all about. You know?
Last 2 points that I want to make quickly here. Defend with the edge. I'll say this about the Bills right now. So you got Vaughn, you got AJ Epinesa, you got Greg Rizzo, then you got Casey Tuhill, which he's nothing. He's your Shaq Lawson at best. Okay. That's okay right now. But if Vaughn's not healthy or something happens to him, or he just falls off that cliff, or if Greg Rizzo gets hurt, all of a sudden you kind of got trash at defensive end. You got no depth and no skilled pass rushers, literally, if one of those guys goes down. So that's why I could see them addressing that first. And I think receiver is much deeper in this class. But I will say this at receiver, Joe. I'm not disagreeing with you about the priority and the receiver mattering. I don't think this receiver room's good enough right now. I do think Shakir is trending up. I do think they view Samuel as an upgrade over Gabe Davis, even though they're different types of receivers. He's their number 2 receiver. They still need that main guy. And Kincaid is going to be a bigger weapon too. And Joe Brady now has a whole offseason. He knows what Shakir is. He knows what Dalton Kincaid is. So he's going to be scheming things up for them now all offseason long. They still need another receiver. And here's my point. I think everything's on the table. They could go up and go trade for a top. They could go trade for Marvin Harrison or Roma Dunze. That's on the table. Trading up for Brian Thomas in the middle of round 1. That's on the table. Brandon Ayuk, who, oh my God, I would trade my first next year in a second for Brandon Ayuk. I would do it in a second. And there's money in the banana stand. There always is somehow, some way. So yeah, I'm not, look, you go get a Brandon Ayuk who's,
then I'm fine. Yeah. I'm like Diggs who, like, yeah.
He's better than Stephon Diggs right now. Sure. He's better than 2024 Stephon Diggs. And he's 5 years younger. He's going to command monster deal. Okay, go get him. I'm good with that. So I'm not saying that I don't want them to address receiver. I'm just predicting more or less. I think they go edge first or something like that. And just think they're going to get a receiver in the second round. I think they like the room better than we do. But I don't think they think it's good enough.
Yeah, but and I get your logic because we have talked about that this team, this regime loves defensive linemen. They cannot have enough defensive linemen. They want the freaking rotation of they want a 8-man defensive line rotation, which I hate because they put assets in there and it's just like, can't we just get 3 guys and call it a day and like get some journeymen and get some practice squad, whatever. Like I invest in offense. Your logic for putting yourself in Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane's shoes, I can totally see that happening. And I will be livid. I will just, I can't think of like, I was thinking, I talked about this before with you, like trying to figure out like, when was the last time I was legit angry about like a draft pick, like in the first round? And I wasn't even that angry about Josh Allen. Like I kind of like was like, I know everyone was pissed and I was kind of like, I kind of wanted, Rosen. Yeah, I wanted him probably, but like I was kind of like, I don't know much, like whatever. I like everyone's a liar. Everyone's full of shit when it comes to draft. So it's crap when it comes to the draft stuff. But the last time I was just like would be this upset would be like the CJ Spiller draft where they had Fred Jackson and Marshawn Lynch on the draft on the roster. I'm like, why are we getting this running back? Like we already have 2 good running backs. Like why do we need a third one? That was stupid and it didn't work out. It was dumb. And like I would be 10 times angrier about
they go anyone defense.
Yeah,
what about a guard? What about a guard? Or is it got to be receiver? You're an offensive guy. You don't value potentially a late first round guard. Maybe come back with a receiver in round 2. You could your protection job.
They have a good line right now, and they have some. And I think they're what Spencer Brown is he due for a contract? Yeah, I think it's his free agent year coming up. It's his 4th year, right? Yeah, this is his 4th. So he. Yep. You might want insurance for that. I wouldn't be as angry if it was for defensive line. Because again, this is all about strategy. About this obnoxious, we have to live through the Carolina model of what there was in the 2010s with Ron Rivera and Sean McDermott, where it was like all in on defense. And then we have a bunch of running backs, which they love doing in Carolina. And Cam Newton's throwing the ball to like one guy. And then they wasted Cam Newton's prime. And then it was done. And it was like, and for what? You guys, they were good-ish. They weren't like, oh my God. They weren't a dynasty. They didn't win a Super Bowl.
There are similarities between those teams. It's scary, man. It really is. It's linebacker-driven defenses and run the ball and a great tight end and no real receiver weapons with the mobile quarterback with a cannon arm. the similarities are a little bit eerie.
It's completely the same almost. Even the draft picks, like I'm running, and that's the other thing too. And I've talked about this before. Like you haven't drafted a wide receiver in the first 3 rounds ever.
I might, as we go off the air here, I might have to have you, if possible. If we can work it out, I might need to get you on after the draft, round 1, Thursday night, because I think there might be smoke legitimately coming from your ears if the Bills.
I will block, mute anyone who tries to justify this. Because I know, but I know, I shouldn't. Because I get what the logic's going to be. It's going to be, well, you have to get the best player available. You can't reach, even though you don't know what their freaking what their draft board is. You don't know that, and like it would just you are not going to win a Super Bowl with this philosophy. And look, maybe they do the, like you said, defensive line, and they do a wide receiver in the second round, and maybe somehow they make a trade. Like, in June or something for Ayuk or whatever, and they give up a first.
It could happen.
And Greg Rousseau, I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? Like they do something crazy and creative.
Well, it's going to be an interesting week. And if they don't take a receiver on Thursday, I'll tell you what, it's going to make Friday's lead in to night 2 of the draft probably a lot more stressful for the wide receiver train crew, for sure. Are they going to take a receiver in round 2? Are they going to take 2? Are they going to make a trade on night 2 for a veteran? It will be incredibly interesting. They're not leaving, put it this way. Matt Collins is not going to start the season as their number 3 receiver. I'm confident in saying that because right now he is, but he won't be the 3rd receiver to start the season.
I mean, this is where you reset your philosophy a little bit and you go, hey, I'm for 1 and 2, go get the wide receivers. I get what you're saying, like the edge, like, oh, if Von Miller stinks, they're in trouble. But you know what? Like you had a 7-8 man defensive line rotation, and like it won you.
I get it.
It won you good games against crappy quarterbacks for the most part.
Maybe you hope that they got a couple edge guys that they like. Maybe they can get one on night 2 of the draft, and you get your receiver first. I'm not anti wide receiver. I'm just preparing myself, I guess, for
No, I hear you. Where's that one guy I like? Worthy, is he going to be there?
He should be. He could be.
From what I've researched,
he's an enigma because he's really small, but he's explosive and.
Yeah, well, Tariq Hill's small too, and he's doing fine. He hasn't gotten into it. Like I could definitely give me that big play guy too. Give me that a little bit of that, but I got to get off. We got
to get off the show. Joe's enjoying his beer. You got company coming over to your crib anyway. We recorded this, by the way, Sunday around dinner time. I got a couple things that I get done as well. We're going to obviously talk during the week. Don't be surprised, folks, if after the draft night 1, because I will be live on Thursday night after the draft. If Joe's still up and he can, I might pull you on for a little first round reaction. I may have to know a lot about the player, just the situation and how things unfold. That might be worth your commentary alone.
I will have to leave the house for that because it's going to be late. My baby will be sleeping. My wife will be sleeping. I may have to go to the car with my phone onto here to yell while I'm in the car and waking up the neighborhood. That's how angry I'll be.
All right. Well, we'll see how that plays out. But anyway, regardless, I will be back with a brand new episode. Anthony Marino and I are going to go over our bold Bills and NFL draft predictions, and that'll be tomorrow. Talk to you then.